want to give it a minute. I'm watching our participants tick up. So let's get some folks. I'll begin. Okay. So why don't I start off? Thanks for joining me, everybody, joining us actually tonight for MEFA's College Savings presentation hosted by Boston Saves. We're of course very happy to be partnered with Boston Saves and grateful for everything that they do for furthering this message of saving for college. I want to direct your attention right away. As you'll see, we have interpretation services that are going to be used tonight. And so I wanted to explain them a little bit first because we have interpreters for Mandarin and Cantonese, as you can see. So if you want those languages, you would choose that option, as you can see in this little box down here. But if you don't want either of those and you want to listen in English to me, you will also have to pick English. So if you don't pick anything, you're going to see me moving my hands a lot and not hear anything. So if you are seeing me and not hearing me, that's why, not that you can tell. So if you are, no matter what language you want to listen in, Cantonese, Mandarin, or English, please choose that option. And then we're going to go and get started and activate that interpretation service. My name is Jonathan Hughes. I am here from MEFA, and I want to take about an hour of your time tonight. Actually, it has to be no longer than an hour because unfortunately I have a hard stop at 7 that I have to get on somewhere else. But before I started our presentation tonight, I'm joined here by our interpreters and they want a moment to introduce themselves to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll start first. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anna. Wei and I will be providing interpretation. I will do Cantonese and Wei will be providing Mandarin interpretations. So 大家好，我係 Anna， 我係你哋嘅今晚嘅廣東話翻譯員。咁一陣間你見到熒光屏下面咧有個地球儀，咁你揀 Cantonese 廣東話，咁你就去到廣東話嘅翻譯頻道。用手機嘅話咧，撳個3個點，再揀更多，再揀 Cantonese， 咁亦都會去到嗰個頻道噶啦。多謝大家 ，Thank you so much， 一陣間見。Your turn, Wei.
Hi everyone, my name is Wei. I will be your Mandarin Chinese interpreter for the meeting. 大家好，我是您的普通话同声翻译。感谢您今天加入这个会议。如果您需要同声翻译的话呢，请点击屏幕底部的地球仪标记，然后呢选择中文Mandarin 选项进入我们这个翻译频道。如果你是使用手机或者是平板电脑呢，请点击3个点，然后选择更多，然后就进入这个翻译频道。刚才呢是 Anna， 她已经介绍了这个广东话的翻译，但是她已经进入了这个翻译频道，所以你可能就听不到。然后呢，我现在点进去之后呢，我也就是在这个普通话的翻译频道里头，然后你可以听我的翻译。如果是你想听英文的话，选择这个英语的这个频道就可以了。Okay. All right.
We're good to go, Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. I just got a message saying that nobody can hear the interpreters. So I just want to put a message in the Q&A that everyone needs to select their language. Just so in case anybody joins, they might see this. Okay. So hopefully, if you want to hear me, you can hear me. I also want to say hello to Sasha Abby Vanderzee, who you just heard if you're listening, well, in English. And she is going to handle the Boston Saves slide for me today and go over that program and how that program should be able to be used to save for college. So thank you very much once again. I'm very excited to be doing this, and we do this every year, and I always look forward to it. So this is, as I said, MEFA's Saving for College presentation. And if you don't know who MEFA is, we are the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority. And we are a not-for-profit state authority. We were created back in 1982 by the Massachusetts State Legislature. And we have a public service mission to help Massachusetts families to plan, save, and pay for college. And so we do that in a variety of ways. But tonight, of course, we're going to be focusing on savings. My name is Jonathan Hughes. As I said, I'm the Associate Director of College Planning and Education. I'm going to have to update this slide because it says I've worked for over 15 years at MEFA. I've worked for over 20 years at MEFA at this point, helping Massachusetts families to plan, save, and pay for college. And I work very closely, specifically with the savings programs that we're going to be talking about tonight. I am working with the Baby Steps program, which is similar to Boston Saves, which we'll talk about. It's a seeded college savings plan. But, you know, I have spoken to many parents over the years on all issues related to college, paying for college, being admitted to college, financial aid, saving for college. Saving for college is really kind of my favorite. So I'm very happy to be discussing this with you tonight. And about Boston Saves, I'll let Sasha take over for the first time here.
Yeah. So I work for the city of Boston. I'm the senior program manager for Boston Saves. I've been with the program for about 2 years now, and I work within the Office of Financial Empowerment in the city. It's really a children's savings account program that is designed specifically to help families with young children start saving early and kind of get into a mindset of this is what we can do right now to help our kids be able to go to college or a career placement, kind of a career training program. And I think this is the only slide about it, right?
No, there's one in
There's
the
one more?
middle that
Okay.
actually goes to the plan in a little bit more
Specific.
detail.
Okay.
So yeah,
Great.
yeah. Well, thank
So
you. though.
I'll leave you with that for right now.
Okay. And again, once again, my apologies. I am going to have to go quickly through. I will definitely tell you what you need to know. But if you have questions about anything we've covered or anything we didn't cover, I know some people already have some questions that they want addressed. Please know that you can reach out to MEFA at any point. We're a free resource for you to use with any questions regarding saving for college, especially if this is a general saving for college and not a Boston Saves question. If it's a Boston Saves question, you can direct that toward Sasha. But
I will just add in
Yep.
that just so people are aware, Boston Saves is a universal program for all students in Boston Public Schools that are in K2 first and second grade. There's a couple of older students in third, fourth, and fifth if they were in a pilot program, but no students older than fifth grade are currently in the program. We can just add a new K2 class every year.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. And if you have questions throughout, you can put them in the Q&A and I'll answer them as I can as we go. If I don't get to it, I may be just waiting until that question is answered by another slide later on. And in the event that we get through before 7, which is possible, I'll hang around to answer questions afterwards as well. But as I said, please reach out to me if you have any questions. It's kind of what we're here for. So what we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about, first of all, why save? Why is it a good idea to save for college? Probably the most important thing we're going to talk about is why it's a good idea to save and convincing you that you should. We're going to talk about specific options for saving for college. Now, I am the first to say I'm not trying to tell you how to save for college. I'm certainly not trying to tell you to save using a MEFA product. Any way you can save for college is a good way to save for college. But there are certain ways that are specifically designed to be used for college. So they might have an extra benefit or an extra incentive built in to use for college. And we'll talk about those tonight, specifically the 529 plan. We'll talk about some strategies for savings that parents have used over the years. And I'll be honest, I have an 8-year-old child and I'm saving in a 529 plan for my son as well. So I can tell you what's worked for me or so far, what has not. And then finally want to end up with how families actually do pay for post-secondary education, we call it. So it's either college or something after high school. So it doesn't necessarily have to be college, could be career training, could be vocational program, whatever it is. Over the years, as I said, I've worked for MEFA for 20 years. And so many parents' questions really boil down to, how do people do this? How do they actually pay for college? We're going to talk about how some families do actually pay for college. We have a Boston Saves question in the chat, so I'm not sure if you want to answer as we go. Okay, so for why save? So this is probably the most important slide in the entire presentation, and this is myths that we've heard about saving for college, things that prevent people from saving for college when they really should not. And the first one being, my savings will hurt my financial aid. I was on a meeting just earlier today where we talked about this. Some people think, well, if I save for college, a college is going to look at what I have saved and think, oh, well, you know, I was going to give you the scholarship, but now I'm not because I see you've got college savings here. It doesn't really work that way at all. So let me, just to try to take a high level of financial aid. Financial aid can be given based on two sort of measures. First being merit-based aid. Those are things like academic scholarships, athletic scholarships, you know, awards given for student achievement. They have nothing to do with how much money you have or how much money you make. Most financial aid is not merit-based, but it is need-based. So when you go and you fill out your financial aid forms, you may have heard of things like the FAFSA. That is a financial aid form that you need to file. They're going to ask you to put in all your financial information, the financial information of the parents, meaning the assets. This is where your savings will go in, and also the income. And they're going to ask the same of the student, the assets and the income. The truth is that income, parent income, is the biggest factor in determining how much financial aid you're eligible to receive, and it's by far. So they will take only about 3 to 5.6% of your assets, which you have saved, as going towards what you can pay for college. That's the weight of a parent asset. So they'll take a small amount. For income, they'll take anywhere from 0 to 47% of your adjusted gross income for the year. And the more you make, of course, the more income they're going to ask you to use to pay for college. Just to show you how heavily weighted towards income that is. So savings has a minimal, if any, effect on financial aid eligibility. The other thing is, it's not worth saving for college if I can't save the entire cost. Everybody has it in their head that college is very expensive. And so that may or may not ultimately be the case, but for everybody. And it's very common to see news stories every summer or the end of summer that this college now costs X amount of dollars every year. And of course, they pick the most expensive college in the region, and people say, oh my God, I remember when my son was born, as I said, I have an 8-year-old, my colleague said, oh, let's see how much college is going to be for Malcolm when he turns 18. And so we looked at it, and I remember the number being enormous and thinking, oh my God, I can never save that money. And you know something, it's probably true. I probably can't save that amount of money. The point is that very, very few families are actually going to be asked to pay that full cost of college. The vast majority of families are going to be eligible for at least some level of financial aid. And that is something that is not as well understood, and we'll talk about that in just a minute too. So you're going to have some financial aid that's going to eat up some of that cost in all likelihood. And then, you know, anything you save after that can be very important, whether it's the entire amount that is due or some of that to minimize borrowing. So again, just to wrap up, your college savings definitely will help you. It's a net positive for you. So it can give you more education options. It can expand, if you have some savings, it'll expand your possible list of colleges. The biggest thing for me really is it can reduce or hopefully even eliminate the need to borrow loans. You know, the fact is that many, if not most, families are going to borrow something to get through 2 or 4 years. If you don't have to, that's obviously the best circumstance. But if you do have to borrow, it's not necessarily a problem to borrow. The problem becomes that you borrow more than you need to borrow, and certainly more than you can afford to pay back. So savings can be an important part of the strategy of how you actually pay after financial aid. And as we've already said, it has a minimum impact on aid eligibility. So it really doesn't impact your eligibility for financial aid very much at all. Sasha will be familiar with this probably. This is just a slide that I like showing the positive impact of 529 plans. Sasha, of course, being representative from Boston Saves, and me working with the Baby Steps program. These are both what are called CSAs, college saving account, child saving accounts. And you know, since there's been a lot of growth in child savings accounts lately. So Boston has one, Massachusetts has one, Rhode Island has one, Maine has one. There's a lot of research that's been done over the years about the effects of these programs and about the effects of savings in general. And so what we've found is that it really doesn't matter how much you have saved. If you have anything at all saved, that is going to have an outsized impact on students' college attendance and their graduation. And so this figure here is low to middle income children who graduate from college by savings amount. So you see 5% no account, $1 to $499. You know, not a huge amount of money to be saved, but it's not, you know, going to be tens of thousands of dollars necessarily, but you can see that goes up from 5% to 25%. So the increase is fivefold. If a child knows that money has been set aside for him or her to go to college, they're much more likely to attend college and much more likely to graduate as well. And you can see, of course, that goes up the more there is saved. But even a little bit has a huge impact. So again, this is a benefit that's seen across all income levels. It's not just for middle income or upper middle income families. It really benefits low to middle income families as well. And it does have a motivating impact on children. That is something that we have seen in the research. And there's all sorts of other research too that, you know, shows some other benefits that may be transferred to moms and to including maternal well-being and increased attendance and literacy rates for younger kids. You know, nothing definitive, but there's some indications that may be the case. So 529 plans specifically, but I think generally speaking, college savings have an impact that go beyond helping you actually pay for college. Okay, so I want to talk about the 529 plan. A 529 plan really has become probably the most well-known way to save for college, maybe the vehicle of choice, you might say, for a lot of families. 529 plans themselves have been in existence since about the late 90s. They were signed into law. It was a federal law, and then every state was given sort of the mission to go create their own 529 plan or 529 plans. And so Massachusetts created the U Fund, and this is a MEFA program, the U Fund, and this is a Massachusetts 529 plan. And how it works, essentially, you put money into the account. So if you open up your U Fund 529 account, which you can do with no minimum investment. So you can open it and not even fund it and fund it later. You can open it with $5. It really doesn't matter. You put money in to the account, and that money itself is invested in the market. So we have contracted with Fidelity Investments to handle those investments and to actually service the U Fund accounts. So I have a U Fund account for my son. When I call up and want to know what's going on with my U Fund account, I'm going to get Fidelity. So the money grows as long as the market grows, the money grows without taxes. And then when it comes time to use the money and you pull that money out, you don't pay taxes on that earnings as long as you use them for a qualified higher education expense. Ooh, somebody raised their hand. Do you want to ask a question? If you do, you can put that right into the Q&A and I'll be happy to answer it. Let me see, just try one more thing if I can. No, I don't know. Okay, I apologize if you're trying to get through, but again, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A and I will answer those, or Sasha will. So anyways, you put funds in the account, it grows with the market, tax deferred, you pull those out. As long as you use them for a qualified educational expense, you don't pay taxes on the earnings. So what are qualified educational expenses? Well, they're things like tuition, fees, room and board, books, supplies, and equipment. So a lot of different expenses that you can use for college. You can use this money at any accredited college or university in the country, so it doesn't have to be a Massachusetts college. Can actually use them for international institutions as well, as long as they are eligible to take US federal funds. Now I see a Q&A. Oh, it's Boston Saves, thanks. So, and actually it doesn't even have to be for college. It can be for, as I said, vocational training, certificate programs that are used for work training, as long as the institution itself is eligible to receive US federal funds. You can use your 529 plan and still not be subject to the taxes on the earnings. The combined account maximum cannot exceed $500,000. So not a problem for most people usually. They're not going to bump up against that $500,000 limit. If it is, if you do, that's great. Congratulations. It's wonderful that you have so much money saved. But again, it's not something that people typically run into. And this is important to note too, there's no annual account maintenance fee. So what that means is not a fee that you have to pay out of pocket every year to be a part of this program. There are fees associated, and there are fees associated with any 529. They're taken out of the earnings, but it's not a fee that you have to actually pay out of pocket. Now it says here that there are multiple investment options. So this is an investment program, and when you put money in, you have to let Fidelity know how you want the money invested. And so I am not an investment person. I'm not qualified or capable or willing to give out any financial advice or investment advice of any kind, but you can call Fidelity and they can help you. I mean, actually, when you're going through, there's probably only 3 investment questions that you're going to be faced with, but you do need to answer them in order to set up the account. And if you want to set it up a certain way and then talk to Fidelity later and you find maybe you want to change your investment, you can do that too. I think it's probably more important to just have the account open than it is the actual investment strategy that you choose. But again, you do have to choose an investment strategy, and Fidelity is available to help you with that. I always tell the story when I'm talking about this, but the first time I opened a 529 account was at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I had a question on something. I was able to call Fidelity and have them help me. So they are available. They're very available to answer your question. And they're very, very helpful. And they're trained a few times a year, actually by MEFA. So, you know, they're familiar with the folks that want to save for college. And, you know, if you say you're calling for, you know, your U fund, then they'll know, you know, what you're looking for. I do want to mention there are expanded 529 uses. That is, I mentioned some of the eligible expenses. Well, they've been extended. Up to $10,000 can now be used in 529 plans to pay for private and public K through 12 tuition. You can pay for up to $10,000 for expenses related to apprenticeships and up to $10,000 to repay student loans. So you can use those things and still not be subject to the tax. Now, if you do have to, you know, if you have money saved in the 529 plan and you can't use it the way you've intended, you can transfer that over to another student within the family if that's an option. If you do have to take an unqualified withdrawal, what happens then is that there's a 10% penalty on the earnings. All the penalties are on the earnings and not on what you put in, but there's a 10% penalty on the earnings, and then the earnings are going to be taxed at the owner's rate of income because they want you using it how it was designed, which is for higher education or for education in general. The baby step savings plan is something that may be of interest to some of you. This is like Boston Saves in a way. It's a CSA program. And this is a program run through the Treasurer's Office, Massachusetts State Treasurer, and MEFA, where any child who is a Massachusetts resident and was born or adopted in Massachusetts has 1 year, so until their first birthday or 1 year from their date of adoption, to open a U fund and get $50 free seeded into their account. So if I know many of you that your children are older than that, but you may have children who are in that window still, or you may be expecting or know people who are or do have children that age, that may be of interest to you. This is something that you can also use along with Boston Saves. So it's not like you have a baby steps and you're not going to be able to get Boston Saves. You can do them both. So this is something that has been in existence since January 1st of 2020. You're into our second year, and going very well. And of course, putting us in contact frequently with Boston Saves and Sasha, which is very nice. And actually, here comes Sasha to talk about the Boston Saves account.
Excellent. And there's a couple of questions.
Oh,
I
sure.
just answered one 529 question. but
Oh,
hopefully you got it
okay.
right. So as I talked about, every kindergartner K2 student in BPS has an account this year. We started in 2019 and we start in K2 where everybody is guaranteed a seat. That's why we don't start with the K1 or K0 students. And so every year we add a new class of K2 students until eventually in 8 years, every student in BPS will have a Boston Saves account. But as of right now, it's all students in K2, first and second grade. We seed the accounts with $50. It can be linked to the U Fund account or a savings or a checking account of your choice, so that you can see all the savings that you have for your child in one place. And when you link an account, the first time you link an account, you would get $25 that would be added to your child's Boston Saves account. So it doesn't go into your individual account. And then if you are able to save $25 every quarter, then we would put an additional $5 incentive into your child's Boston Saves account. And then there's an extra incentive, which was the most popular one over the course of the pandemic, where if you have a child in K2 to third grade, which most of the students are, and you read to your child 20 minutes a day for 20 days a month for each month, each of the 3 months of the quarter, you can log into your Boston Saves account and literally click a button that says, yes, I read to my child, and it's the honor system. So we believe you when you say that. And if you do that every quarter, we would add an additional $5 to their Boston Saves account. So the most important thing is to log in, which about 30% of eligible families have, and we're looking to increase that number. We've sent out emails if your child was eligible, if BPS shared your information with us. So if you have never gotten an email and you have a child in K2, first or second grade, or know somebody who might be eligible, they can email me at bostonsaves@boston.gov, and I can put that in the, I don't know, maybe in the Q&A, I can add that. And then just tell me the child's name and the school and the grade, and we can send the parents or guardians an email to log in. And it's quite easy to do. It doesn't take very long, and you just have to pick a password, and then you'll be able to see their $50 and have the opportunity to link and save and read with your child to earn additional incentives.
Thanks. Yeah, and I did want to mention this, and because it says on the slide here that this account can be linked to a U Fund account. That is how it was designed. Although Sasha has brought to my attention that there's been some difficulty on the tech end of this, actually linking the accounts from Fidelity to Boston Saves. But Sasha and I and Fidelity are working on getting this corrected, and hope to and expect to do that soon. So hopefully we can get that fixed and folks can link their accounts. But right now, if you're having difficulty, we're aware of it and working to rectify that. Thank you, Sasha. Oh, okay. So some important tax benefits that come with saving in one of these U Fund 529 accounts. Just an extra sort of incentive for folks to save. There is an income tax deduction that savers can claim if they're paying Massachusetts state income taxes. They can deduct up to $2,000 for married filers filing jointly of their contributions to their U Fund on their Massachusetts state income taxes. If you're an individual filer, you can claim up to $1,000 of your contributions on your Massachusetts state income taxes. And again, that limit is per filer, not per account. So if you have two different accounts and you're going 2,000, if you're the filer, you can still only claim 2,000 or 1,000, depending on your tax filing status. But that was something that was added in 2017. It was supposed to be for 5 years and was just made permanent because, it was a good benefit. It was a good sort of spur for people to save. And this is, again, if you're in Massachusetts, you don't have to pick the Massachusetts 529 plan. You can pick another state's 529 plan. That's fine. But this might be a reason to pick the Massachusetts 529 plan if you want that income tax deduction. Now we'll talk about some strategies for savings that we know folks have had success with. This image on the left here is a sample gifting page that Fidelity has set up, or allows people to set up for their U-Fund accounts. And you can see here, so this is Kevin's college savings plan. You can see how old this is. He's 2 years old and he's entering college in 2024. So apologies for that. But this is essentially where you can put a picture of your child, put their age, what year they're entering college, and what they want to do when they grow up. I'm very impressed that only 2 years old, Kevin already knows he wants to be a doctor. But you can go and sort of just take that link and email it to family and friends. It's something that we say to families probably more than ever these days, that you don't have to do this alone, right? You can involve grandparents, you can involve aunts and uncles or family friends. I talked to a colleague of mine who has a 1-year-old who, like, one of the first things he did was set up this gifting page and emailed it out to his family and friends, birthdays, milestones like first communions and bar mitzvahs and things like that. Especially when kids are really young, they're not going to miss any toys. When you get older, it's a little bit more difficult. Although I think it's a good idea for parents. I think I wouldn't mind that as a present for me, a gift to my son's U-Fund account. But this is a way to involve other people. So getting the word out, telling your family and friends to contribute. Start saving as early as possible. So I would never say that it is too late to start saving. So even if you're in high school, it's a good idea to start saving, because anything that you're saving is something that you don't have to borrow, right? But definitely it's kind of like retirement. Like, the earlier you start saving, the more results you're going to see. You can start with a goal in mind. It might be a little difficult to tell exactly how to do that, but we have a college planning tool on MEFA.org that you can use to sort of estimate how well you're doing saving and how much you may need by the time your child is going to college. So you may want to take a look at that. Again, that's on MEFA.org. Take advantage of unexpected funds. I'm thinking about things like income tax returns. Maybe I don't expect many of these, or, let's hope in a weird way we don't see these again, but stimulus checks that we had previously, that was certainly unexpected funds. If you have just unexpected windfalls, you can use that or some of that to put into your college savings. Using automatic transfers is huge. I mean, we know that people who use automatic transfers, like direct debited from their checking or savings account, tend to save more than people who do not. I'll tell you a story. When I was first saving for my son, that I was actually saving for him for about 9 or 10 months before I even realized I was doing it, because my wife had set up the automatic transfers. And one day I said, "Oh, we really have to start saving." She said, "Yeah, we've been doing that for like 9 months." I had no idea, because that's the benefit of automatic savings. It just comes right up before you even see it. And then involving your child in the process. So this always seems very optimistic to me, but I have spoken to people who have, I'm thinking about a woman in particular, who always made her daughter save half of everything that she got. And I said, "Really?" Because I was sort of saying, I don't know who's going to do that. And she said, "Oh, my daughter does that. I made her save everything. She got money for birthdays. She got money for first communion. I made her save half of it. It went into her college fund." And not only did that help her pay for college, but it's something that she still does. So when I was asking her, "Is it okay if I still tell this story?" She said, "Oh yeah, I just talked to her and she said, that she still saves half of every check that she makes." And it's a great habit to get into. Plus, kids also like to see if they've got money in an account. They like to see it going up, and they get excited, even if it's $50 or $100, or as it goes up and up, they get excited about that. And that's something that we talk about too. amongst ourselves at MEFA when we have kids around the same age, you know, that they like seeing that U fund balance. Oh, okay. So here, hopefully I have a poll question ready to go. This is, and I mentioned earlier, the benefit of starting early, and this is going to show you the benefit of starting early. So we have here compound interest. This is interest gaining on interest. Remember, it's not just what you put in, it's the interest that accrues on that, the value that gains. So we have Julie and Jonathan. So Julie starts saving $50 per month in a 529 account when her child is first born. Jonathan starts saving $100 per month in a 529 account beginning when the child is in second grade. So who will have more money saved when his or her child turns 18? Okay, so I'm going to launch this poll. Wait for the results to come in. Okay, results are trickling in now. I'll give another few seconds and then I'll cap it. All right. So I'm going to share these results. You can see that 75% of you thought Julie was going to have more and 25% felt sorry for me. So you were correct if you said that Julie was going to have more money. And let's see exactly how much. So Julie starts saving $50 per month in a 529 account when her child is first born. She is going to contribute the $10,800 that she's going to contribute by the time her child turns 18 and gain $10,736. So almost as much as she put in, she's going to gain. And she's going to have $21,536. You can see I actually put in a good deal more than Julie, $13,200, and earned substantially less in interest, $6,598. So I still have a lot. I still have $19,798. And I hesitated to actually share this a little bit because I know many of you have children who are 7 years old or so. Believe me, I'm not saying that, you know, since you didn't start when your child was first born, that you're behind. That's not what I mean. But it's just important to start as early as you can. So if you haven't started yet and you think you may want to start, do it, because it's just more important that you start. Once you started, it's much easier to continue and to actually bump that up if you want to. Okay, now I'm going to talk about how families actually do pay for post-secondary education, college and career. Okay, so one of the first things that I like to talk about, and I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we have this idea that we hear it a lot, that college now costs X amount of dollars. College costs $70,000. College costs $80,000, whatever it might be. Well, the first thing that I want to let you know is that college is not a monolith. So there are all different types of colleges, there are all different types of pathways and various types of education that you can get. And they have really different costs. So that number that you hear, 70, you know, on the news and how expensive it is to go to college, those are the four-year private colleges, okay? And those are usually, almost always, the most expensive options that there are. Now, being in Massachusetts, we have a lot of private colleges. And so this number here is a national average. And this is taken from a publication from the College Board. The College Board is the entity that manages the SAT and the AP exams. And they run this research firm that puts out these sort of reports every year. And so this is trends in student pricing. And this is a national average of how much it costs for 1 year at a four-year private college. That is tuition, fees, books, room and board. So this is if you're living on campus, all of that together. The national average for 1 year is 53,950. So that's your top line in terms of cost. These are 4-year private colleges, as I said, probably the most expensive type that there are. And so we have a lot of them here. This is a national average. Our regional numbers for Massachusetts or New England are going to be higher than the national average. So, you know, if you're thinking 60,000 or so, in between 60 and 70,000, that's probably not out of the ballpark for 1 year for a 4-year private college living on campus. Now, for public colleges or universities, as you may know, if you attend a 4-year or a public college or university in the state in which you live, so Massachusetts, we of course have the UMass system, which are public universities, UMass Boston, UMass Dartmouth, UMass Amherst, and we also have other public colleges like Framingham State or Bridgewater State University or Westfield State. These are part of the public college and university system. If you are an in-state resident, you are going to pay a much lower discounted tuition. So as you can see here, the average, national average for an in-state student to attend a 4-year public college or university is about $26,590. So you can see already it's quite a difference between $53,000 and $26,000. And as far as Massachusetts is concerned, we're a little bit higher probably, but not as dramatically higher as the private. So we're probably closer to the national average for public colleges or universities. Now you can attend a public college or university outside of the state in which you live. And if you do that, you're going to lose in most cases that discount of tuition. So you can see for an out-of-state student for a 4-year public college, you see this over here, 42,970 is about the average for tuition fees, room and board, books and supplies for a year. Now, as I said before, the idea is not that everybody has to go to college. So there are, of course, other paths and other ways to get career training and earn a good living. So looking for national average numbers for vocational schools is difficult because they are so varied. This is from a publication called Value Colleges, and they list the vocational schools as being less than $33,000 for the entire education. So it may seem in the same ballpark as these colleges or universities, but this is for the entire education, not per year. And I think it's really going to vary depending on the type of program and the type of training that you want to see or want to attend. Now, and also a lot of vocational programs, you can get certificate training and career training programs through the 2-year public community college route. Now, the 2-year public community colleges are the lowest sticker prices that there are. Now this says $18,420 per year. That's way higher than typical. And the reason is they're including in this about $9,000 for room and board expenses. Very few community colleges that I'm aware of, in fact, none in Massachusetts, have room and board, dorm rooms to live in. These are commuter colleges. So you can lop about half of that off right away in Massachusetts. So 2-year public community colleges are almost always the least expensive options. You can get your associate's degree at a 2-year public community college and transfer into a 4-year public or private college. There are actually Massachusetts programs that are designed for students to actually move between a 2-year and a 4-year public community college and graduate with little to no debt. So the first thing I want you to remember from all this is that there are all different types of colleges and they have all different varying costs associated with them. The other thing that I want you to know is all of these numbers are before financial aid. And remember, I said that the vast majority of families will be awarded some type or some level of financial aid. Again, there are 2 ways to award financial aid. And you can see here the amount of financial aid awarded to students in 2018-19, $186.9 billion. It's a little less than that the following year, but not substantially. I think it was something like 183 or 184 billion, somewhere around there. It's been in the 180s for the past 7 or 8 years or so. I would guess. So there's a lot of it. There's a lot of financial aid that's granted every year. And again, merit-based aid, scholarships awarded in recognition of student achievement. Most financial aid is actually need-based though. And so financial aid can come from the federal government, the state government, the colleges and universities themselves, and of course, outside scholarship organizations. So there's a lot of financial aid available, and we can discuss financial aid if you want to later on, or you can visit MEFA.org and see our presentations on financial aid, or call me directly and we can talk about it.
Can I
Now,
jump in for 1
yes,
minute,
please
Jonathan?
do. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that parents who have children that are of college age now,
Mhm.
one thing that they should note is that Boston has the tuition-free community college program,
Mm.
which has a bunch of different requirements. There's an income requirement and a GPA requirement, but if you qualify, then you can potentially go to a state community college for free. So I can put, if somebody asks me a question about it, like what is the tuition-free community college program, I can put the link in the chat, but I can't just add.
Can
link.
I ask you, I wonder? No, I don't think I
can't,
can.
I couldn't figure out how to ask.
Okay. Well, that is good. So I hope somebody does ask you, because thank you. I was not, I think I was aware of that, but it wasn't on the top of mind. So thank you for mentioning that. So when we get to this point of how families do pay for post-secondary education, college and career, hopefully financial aid takes a good amount of that to begin with, right? So hopefully you get good financial aid packages. And that eats into your cost of college. Once that happens, there are 3 ways that you can pay basically for college. Past income, meaning any savings that you have. I would also add to savings if you have any type of assets you can leverage. If you have gifts from relatives or things like that, that can go in the past savings. That's paying out of pocket. Present income, meaning the salary that you're making at the time that your student is going to college. And so I want to talk about that for a minute, because again, this is similar to saving. Even if you can't pay the full amount from the money you have left over in your paycheck, which, to be frank, I don't know anybody who really can do that. It is worth it to pay what you can out of pocket. And so there are programs called interest-free monthly tuition payment plans that colleges offer through third parties. And you can sign up for these plans and you can say, all right, if I can pay $200 a month for tuition, and I can do that over 10 months. So $200 every month for 10 months. Every dollar that goes against tuition, that's $2,000. So it's $2,000 that you're paying out of pocket and $2,000 that you're not borrowing and not paying interest back over the next 10 or 15 years. Because once you've exhausted financial aid, savings, and your income as avenues to pay for college, there's really only one thing left, and that is future income or loans. So students are going to have their own loans as part of their financial aid offers. And those are really the only loans that students can get on their own without co-applicants, and there are limits associated with them. So for example, freshmen in college can borrow $5,500 in their own name without asking a parent or anything else to co-sign for them. That's all, $5,500. Goes up to $6,500 the following year, but you get the idea. And that's part of the financial aid offer to begin with. So if you've got your financial aid offer and you've got to borrow, for a balance, any loan that you get after that is going to need to be approved on the basis of income or credit. I'm sorry, on credit or credit and income. And most students just do not have the ability to meet that criteria without somebody else being a co-applicant, typically a parent. Doesn't always have to be a parent, but it usually is. So remember, and again, I've spoken to a lot of parents over the years at MEFA, and something that people say all the time is, I know I'm a co-applicant, but it's not really my loan. It's his loan or it's her loan. But if you're a co-applicant on a loan, it's your loan too. And if the student's not paying, then you're going to be expected to pay. So it is important to you, if you're a parent, to minimize borrowing. Because remember, these loans are going to be, most of them have 10 or 15-year repayments. So you're going to be possibly paying these loans for a long time. So you want to make sure that they are manageable. So it's not, what I want to stress in this is that it's good to draw from all these sources rather than simply borrowing, if you're able to do so. Okay, so your next steps in saving for college, if you have not started to save for college, please start to save for college. If you are saving for college, review your savings and see, if you're satisfied with your progress, if you think you could do more. You can talk to your child about college, start exploring colleges using online tools to learn more about college costs. There's any number of tools that you can use. And you can find a lot of those on mefa.org. You can search colleges, find out what the average price is for families. You can visit college calculators on their website, net price calculators. You can go in and see how much it would cost for you to send your child to college for a year at this particular college. Every college is required to have one. It's an estimate. Some are better than others, but I think in general, it's a very useful tool to give you an idea of how much financial aid you may be eligible to receive at these particular colleges, if you want an idea. They can give you a target to actually kind of, have in mind. You can earn money for your child through your Boston Saves account if you're eligible. So please take advantage of all of that you can. You can peruse the website again and look for events that are coming up. Sign up for our emails. We'll send you 1 or 2 a month based on with content that's going to be relevant to you based on the age of your child. So if you've got a 7th grader, you're going to be getting different emails than if you have a 7-year-old or if you have a 17-year-old. And again, anything that we say in terms of guidance, anything that we can offer, calculators, tools, phone, one-on-one meetings, we offer all these things. It's all free. So please take advantage of that. You can connect with us, MEFA or Boston Saves, on social media. Here's some of our social media. I know we have Instagram now, so you can go on Instagram and look for us. And this is where, just speaking for MEFA, we post a lot of our scholarship opportunities. I know it's something that people are always interested on. And when people contact us about their scholarships and can we boost them, we would tweet about them or post them on Facebook. And that is, I have finished before 7. So I will answer a question that came in through the Q&A before I even started, which is a popular question that people have, which is there a cutoff in terms of income where you're not going to get financial aid past this point, so you shouldn't even file? It's not quite that simple. Whereas if you make over a certain amount, you're just not going to get any financial aid. There is a formula to financial aid eligibility. And so you can go, and so all of this sort of info, it is put into, when you're filing your FAFSA, which is a free application for federal student aid, there's a formula, and it's going to ask you parent income questions, parent asset questions, student income, student assets. It's going to put that all through the formula, and it's going to come up with a number called the expected family contribution. That is the number that the formula calculates that you have the ability to absorb for 1 year of college. So the higher your income, the higher that number is. It's not quite as simple as a bracket. So they take all sorts of things into consideration, but you can go to an EFC calculator and find out what that is, what that number is. Should you not file for financial aid? I never honestly see a downside in filing for financial aid. Even some because what that is going to do, let's say you're not eligible for financial aid. Let's say they're going to expect you to pay $100,000 every year for college, which is more than college's cost. Even if that's the case, that doesn't take merit aid, scholarships, and things like that off the table for you. And certain colleges, believe it or not, do want you to file a FAFSA in order to be eligible for scholarships. That, and if you want the student to borrow their federal student loans so that they can build credit and some parents like them to do that because it gives them the sense of responsibility for their own education, you need to file a FAFSA to do that. And then, if you're going to be borrowing any federal plus loans, a parent loan for undergraduate student, you'd need to file a FAFSA. So, I really, as I said, don't see a downside in filing a FAFSA. There may be other financial aid forms that are college specific as well that you might need to file. And again, I would investigate with the college at that point, because if it's not the FAFSA, if the college wants additional financial aid forms to be filed, they're going to be giving out their own money and using their own formula to determine, or they don't want to rely on a federal formula to determine how much aid they're giving each student. I would find out from the college if they think you should file. I always sort of err on the side of file the form because I really can't see how it would hurt you at all. And it may have some benefits that you're just not thinking of, even if you're not eligible for financial aid, need-based financial aid. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well,
I think we got them all.
okay. Thank you. And thank you for answering. I know you answered some while I was talking, so thank you for that. This is MEFA's college planning number, 1-800-449-MEFA. College planning at MEFA.org. You can contact us out there. And please, if you want to talk to me, my name is Jonathan Hughes. You can ask for me. It's a small office, so they'll know who you're referring to. And good luck to everybody. And thank you to Sasha, and thank you to the interpreters, and thank you to Katie, who is here behind the scenes. I enjoyed myself again, and hope to do it again next year for you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.